Welcome back, learners. It's Mark from Blue Ridge Literacy, and today we're here with my friend Iris.
Hi.
This is Iris Park. She owns a local flower business. Is that correct, Iris?
That's correct. I am the co-owner of Miss You Flowers here in Roanoke with my husband as well.
Fantastic. And the way I got to know Iris was she was involved in one of our recent protests. It was Rolling for Reform.
That's correct.
I want to make sure I
Yes.
get the title right. And not everybody in our group understands completely what Black Lives Matter is about. And I thought maybe you could help us understand a little.
Sure. Black Lives Matter, there's been, it's recent with police brutality against African Americans. And it's been, this is not a new issue. This is something that's been happening for decades. I believe with a couple years ago, Black Lives Matter started. So it was a movement that started. It's kind of picked up some momentum recently with Floyd's death. So there's been more and more protests nationwide, people that are want their voices to be heard, want their community to be involved and their city officials to be involved in this movement as well. So it's something, Black Lives Matter is stating that everyone's life is valuable, that right now it seems to be an issue of police brutality and systemic racism against African Americans. So Black Lives Matter is saying, that Black lives matter as well, they matter too.
One of the things I'd like to make clear while I have you here is I hear interchangeably the words protest and riot, and there's a big difference, right?
There's certainly a difference between those two. Protesting could be done peacefully. You want to see something that you want to see a change. Everyone's could be involved in a protest. You can have a silent protest. I was involved in a silent protest with the Unitarian Universalist Church here in Roanoke a few weeks ago. A few of my friends and my children were involved, and we held signs, and it was a silent protest. And then of course Rolling for Reform as well, which my son and my daughter and my husband were involved in. But protesting is very peaceful. You want to see change. You can protest in many different forms, but there's no harm against anyone, but you want your voice to be heard. With the riot, I feel as though there's certain individuals that try to capitalize on a Black Lives Matter movement and protesting, and they're not associated with protesting. They're, they want to. Maybe they do want some change, but rioting is not the way to go about it. Although it does, of course, raise attention for
Yes.
that, of course. But I don't think that's not the correct way to go about it, is, destroying property or inciting violence or anything like that. So maybe rioters originally want change and want their voices to be heard. But protesting is very peaceful. Everyone, women, men, children involved, everyone can be involved and do that peacefully. And rioting, I don't think that's quite exactly the way to get your point across.
Some of our learners at Blue Ridge Literacy were under a teacher who was very involved in the Universalist Unitarian end of the recent protest.
Yeah, so I thought my husband and I, we take our children to the UU church here often. So I thought that was a wonderful way for to get my entire family involved and get our voices heard as well.
And I'd like to make clear, if you're in agreement, that when people say Black Lives Matter, they're not saying to the exclusion of all other lives. It's just right now, this is a problem that has to be focused on.
Yes, that's of course. I think it gets misconstrued Of course, we're not saying that anyone else's life doesn't matter and only Black lives. It's, you know, that is the focus right now. You know, and that we want everyone to be involved no matter what their background, ethnicity, their race. But yes, Black Lives Matter does not mean that anyone else's life does not matter. I've had some people ask me that question and maybe say that I think that way, but I come from, my family is very diverse and cultural. My husband's from South Korea. My children are biracial, Korean and African American. So of course I wouldn't say that my husband's life doesn't matter and my children's life, you know, doesn't matter. That's not what it means. It just means that Black lives, that's the focus right now.
The analogy that made it clear to me was a friend explained, if you call the fire department because your house is on fire and they start spraying water on your house, that doesn't mean the other houses in the neighborhood don't matter.
Exactly. That's
right now, this is our problem.
Exactly. I find that that's a great analogy.
Yeah. And do you find that because you are self-employed, you have more time to deal with those issues that are important to you? Or do you find being self-employed takes up so much time, you have fewer time for issues?
I think you make time for what you are passionate about and what you believe in, no matter what. You know, I still have a full-time position, you know, work full-time. Currently, due to COVID, I've been home with my children. You know, we're involved in many different communities and organizations and community. You make time for what you are, what you truly believe in and what you're passionate in, no matter what. And on our business, we did speak out. Of course, we're against any type of discrimination. So you know, we're a very cultural family, very diverse, and we believe it's everyone's role to you know, speak up against racism, and just be very open-minded, be kind to others. So that's what we're very passionate about. So we make time for that, you know, anytime.
All of us down at Blue Ridge Literacy are a pretty diverse family too.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, you got me for the video. You got a middle-aged white guy instead of showing all our diversity. But I promise we're there. Do you have any more events coming up, Iris, that maybe our learners would like to learn about?
I do have some projects I'm currently working on and getting my ducks in a row for that, and there's some paperwork and that needs to be approved. Hopefully to get some artwork done in the city, and working with another local small business owner, and hopefully that we can get that off of get that started, and just that's something with spreading positive messages through art in Roanoke, and that's something I think and everyone here in Roanoke can benefit from.
I know I'm behind spreading positive messages through art. Well, I appreciate you talking to us today, Iris. We're always down at the main library if you'd like to visit, and we'd like to hear about any future plans you have.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Thanks for speaking to us today.